Hello. Welcome to another video, I guess. Today I will do this time a guide on how to control fast flyers, because sometimes flyers can be pretty difficult to control, especially like very fast ones. Like for Quark with like 62 fly speed, which is really high. And I will show you how to use these flyers efficiently so that you should be able to control them very well. Anyways, without all that out of the way, let's begin. By the way, this guide is mainly going to be for PC. Some of these exact same procedures may be done on console or mobile. However, you might have to press different buttons on your controller or tap a different button on the screen. So starting off here, go pay attention to the bottom right of the screen, which I have an on-screen keyboard. Let's start off with the basics. To take off flying, you press spacebar. You can see them hovering in the air. For movement, it's the casual W, A, S, and D keys on your keyboard. However, moving would make you take stamina, as you could pay attention to the stamina on the bottom of the screen here. With creatures with sonic wings, when hovering, you will not lose any stamina. When you are flying here, if you want to move up or down, you would have to move your camera in order to do these actions. As holding W, and I can move my mouse holding the right button down, and this allows me to fly around the map at a fixed speed. Now compare this to a creature without sonic wings like Pentagloss. Here you can see my stamina is gradually lowering the longer I hover. And after a bit of time, when your stamina reaches 0, you'll be forced into gliding. Also, there's the Humming Frost plushie obtained from buying the Frostlit travel mug, which is $25 USD and only available to US citizens to purchase this 240 in-game item, which this may go off sale soon. This makes your stamina slow 50% drain. You can see my stamina is draining a bit slower, where I'm able to hover a bit longer before being forced to glide. So let's get into the basics of gliding, which first of all, gliding is a pretty crucial part when flying, because you'll be able to also regen stamina while gliding depending on your glide regen statistic. In order to utilize it, you can glide by pressing F on your keyboard, or pressing F while you're in flying mode. While gliding, you can do stuff like you can move around using D and A, where you can move yourself around. You can use the WASD keys to move. You can also use the right mouse button to move as well, making it a pretty pleasant experience to move. You could see that after I just spam this for a while, you can see my stamina is slowly regenerating while I glide. You can also press F to switch between flying and gliding mode. However, if you run out of stamina while flying, you'll be forced into glide. You can also use shift to sprint around in order to like accelerate. And you could see how fast I am going via the map here. A small little tip here. By the way, when using fast flyers, you can tend to get out of control a lot, especially if you're playing on mobile or console. And if you're playing a higher tier flyer like Parahexelin or Risewalk, the controls for flying are very similar. The statistics of how we'll fly depends on the statistics of the creature, which you can look on stuff like the wiki or in-game. Also, I recommend that you probably start off with a bit slower flyers or something, such as stuff like Melimpsis, Arius, or Vamora, before you move on to the very fast ones like Recork or Pentagloss, as this can really help you improve your speed mobility and make you handle higher speeds in the future. Also, while gliding, these are a bit of miscellaneous controls, but you can press E to bank to the right or Q to bank to the left, which this can be used to make some certain scenarios, like you can fly around a place like this desert pillar pretty smoothly. If you also want to look at some of the more controls for the game, you can open up your creature stat by going into the menu, which you can click this button or press tab and click on stats here. Then you could go to controls. Another way you could get to the stats page is by pressing K on your keyboard. Then you could go to controls, and you can scroll down and up here to show all of the controls here. Also, when gliding, make sure if you point down, you can gain a lot of speed. However, if you point up, you will lose a bit of speed. Now, I will get to the point of stall, which in aviation terms means like your aircraft or flyer, I would say in this case, is very slow. And after like being able to, you will start to stall and you will start falling from the sky down to the ground. You can see as the background with all these items move up as my character is moving down. And after a while, you'll be landing on something like maybe a tree or on the ground. There are also certain stuff of like weather events such as rain or thunderstorms, which increases your takeoff multiplier. What this means, it will take more stamina upon takeoff. You can see that took 6 stamina. Also, here is how much stamina this would take without any takeoff multiplier. You can see that took 5 compared to 6 that I was taken during some rain. Also, if you're up on a pillar, you can also do this to take off, where I took not much stamina, but you can see that I'm going a bit slow. Off the same pillar, you can do this, and you can be a little bit faster while using a bit less stamina or using the same amount of stamina. A quick tip for you guys. You can see that I'm gliding very fast, and if you think you are going too fast, you can quickly press F twice to like slow you down. This can give you a bit more management over your speed and a lot more control. Now another part of flyer control is you have to sometimes deal with ailments, such as dazzling flash. Upon using this, sometimes like holding a button would like cause you to fly out of control a bit. Also, how to counteract stuff like dazzling flash is like once you get hit with it, you can just glide. If you don't press any movement keys and just use your right mouse button, you will not veer out of control, which can be useful if you have a bit of glide. However, the blurred vision can be a bit confusing, but like if you have good eyes, you could possibly see. I also use my alt account with Raloki to conduct these experiments. Another thing that can happen unexpectedly to you is you can sometimes get shocked. What this will do, it will make you do this, and also shock does also make you lose control. However, this time it also makes you lose your fly for one tick. Which means you can fall pretty much down to the ground and possibly get eaten. So make sure you be wary of creatures that have shock area, such as Vamora. Another danger is that you may potentially have to handle being hit by creatures that have wing shred, which Kortos does have wing shred, so if I do something like get hit, you could see I get shredded wings, which makes me fall out of the sky. However, if I get hit by the tail, you will not get wing shred. You'll mainly just take the damage that is pretty much considered on tail damage. You'll not be given any ailments if you get hit by the tail. So another hazard is you getting hit with Crystal Breath, which Crystal Breath is a special breath that can be used in order to, well, make sure you which can actually wing shred you if you get hit by it. And once you do, there's a bit of a chance that you could get wing shred after being breathed with crystals for a while. And there are currently 6 creatures that have Crystal Breath in the game, which I will put on screen. However, for Lucina, it's also flier, so just be careful, because it could be chasing your flyer, like, it could be chasing your Parahexel, and then, like, when you're over water, it could just breathe on you, and then you could just fall into the ocean, and just get eaten by, like, some Magnesis. So that will be the end of the basics section, which means we'll be now moving on to the combat section, which I will explain what many flyers would mainly use in order to do combat, which I will explain very shortly. Okay, so the first part of combat is most flyers would mainly try and like take down small creatures, but if you're a big flyer, running up to them is pretty much not ethical. You can get a big hit or so, but like after a while it outspeeds you, which means you sometimes might need to take off, get that extra speed, and catch up. I used a Glimmerback for this example. Okay, so now let's get on to flyer ankle biting, which this will be a pretty big skill, and it's very risky to do, so try this at your own risk. Ankle biting is the act of flying around, biting ankles, then just flying away. It's pretty risky because sometimes you could get hit and die pretty quickly, but if you are pretty good, you can get a good bit of hits out of it. Using ailment stackers like Penta can really be a bit devastating, especially when ankle biting Kortos. I have this baby one, and it's in my pack for example, because I don't want this slot to die, so here we go. Again, just be careful around like wing shredder creatures, because if you get bit by them, then you're going to fall and become an easy target. So for ankle biting, it's best to go bit perpendicular of where they are moving. Being fast is also pretty crucial, as like you can, as like that will minimize the window they have to attack. By the way, by just ankle biting for a while, you can stack a good bit of corrosion, or whatever element you have, depending on like what plushies you have. So I recommend you just do this, make a swoop. And sometimes if you get really hit for a good bit of damage, you may have to like go fly up and perch up and like lay down. This also may take a bit of stamina, so which stamina management is one pretty crucial thing in the game. You should also potentially like glimpse your eyes at your stamina meter like you're looking at the rear view mirror of your car. Because if you run out, well, you may not have like enough stamina to like run away. Especially if you are like, especially after your wings got shredded. You can like go up and perch up, and also make sure you be careful about poison creatures, because some creatures may have defensive poison, which can really add up, and poison does also remove a bit of your stamina as well, so keep that in mind. Another nice tip is sometimes you can look at the advanced stats at this creature to like look at their fly speed, fly sprint multiplier, takeoff multiplier, and glide regen. This will give you a bit of information on how this flyer will act whenever you start using the fly ability on it. Also, here's one thing. Takeoff multiplier is the amount of stamina that actually takes in order for you to mainly take off. You can see from like the previous example, I was looking at the advanced stats for Pentagloss. You can see that the takeoff multiplier was 10. So once I took off, it took 10 stamina. And that's pretty much it for the flyer guide. Now go out there and you can do some insane, and maybe potentially practice some insane tricks with it. Also, some stuff is like, potentially if you have a bit of lag, you may have to deal with a couple of frame rate drops, which does actually make you go slower a bit. So now I can like go out into Sonaria and do some nice acrobatic tricks. You can do these tricks like places at mountains, oasis, or even Flower Cove, which these flyer tricks may be useful when trying to do stuff like some racing minigames that we have seen in Land Sea Sky 2024 and 2025. You can also do some stuff like fly through these rib cages, fly through these holes or something, or even like go through some of the arches at Forgotten Shores. And maybe do a bit of ankle biting as well, I guess. I would like to thank all of you for watching this flyer guide, and if you enjoy Creatures of Sonaria content, you can subscribe in order to be subscribed for when I post new ones. You can also like this video to boost it in the algorithm as well, which can have other people find this guide, which you can find useful. And this is my second video after coming back from a long bit of content inactivity, and this is me back after making a weekly upload schedule that was suggested to me by a Twin Atlas official content creator, which I will thank them. Anyways, you can be able to catch me on live stream on my Twitch after maybe a while, most likely on Fridays and Tuesdays, but you might also see me randomly streaming or streaming events. And this is where this video will end. Goodbye!